I'm super excited today to be talking about resentment. And resentment is an emotion that I struggled with for years. It's one that I semi-nurtured in my own body. Like I felt like if I was going to let it go, that I would be losing a part of myself. It was like a part of myself that was just telling me what to do. And I couldn't tell if it was a red flag or like something like I needed to, leave this relationship or I needed to change the situation, or if it was something completely different. And I just did not know what to do with this resentment. So today we are going to chat about the beautiful gift that is resentment and how we learned to deal with it completely differently. So I'm here with my colleague, Tara McCallum. Tara, tell us just a little bit about yourself real quick.
So I work with clients, and I also do a certification, which is based on emotions and relationships. And I'm in the US. I know you're in Canada, so it's really cool that we're hitting all of North America and the world. But
Yeah.
we get to do
And
that.
I help busy parents overcome overwhelm and unstress themselves so they can live happy lives and model for their kids how to do this. So, resentment is a piece of that. Dealing with resentment can create toxicity in your families, in your relationships, and within yourself. So, Tara, what are your initial thoughts on resentment?
Gosh, it's that feeling of I can't. It's like literally visually, I get anybody, including myself, when I have resentment, like I'm just tied up and I'm looking around and everybody else is having this joyous life. And I think it goes further than that. I'm sure there's feelings of like wanting to spit acid at people, just all this feeling that everybody else gets to have the life that they want. And not only am I not able to, but I'm also here to serve them and make their life even better. So that's the feeling that I generally get from clients who have it. That's the feelings that I get when I have it. And, when you were saying earlier, there is like this feeling at times where you're vindicated, right? Like, even though you're trapped and you can't do anything, it's like, I have every right to be
Yeah.
this upset, like I'm going to hold on to this because, there's a sense of a power in it, even though it's actually rendering us powerless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
How about
sure.
you?
The main emotion that comes through my head is it must be nice. Must be nice to be able to do that. But here I am. It's like almost like a martyrdom. Like here I am doing all these things for everybody else or serving this, or I don't get to do that. Like that I can't, like you said, right? Absolutely. So how do you bring your clients from that place of I can't and toxicity into a place where they can use resentment to move them into their best lives?
Well, one of the things that we do is we really move them out of the emotion itself and kind of looking at it by categorizing emotions with the elements. So we've talked about sadness before, which is a water element, and anger is a fire element. To me, resentment is a little bit of a mixture of fire and then air. And so the reason why we do this is because if you can look outside of yourself, it can give you the answers a little bit easier. So fire asks us to move up and out. It also brings clarity. There's an energy to it, like you've got to move. And then air is saying, I need to take up more space. So like going from that being trapped in, like you're going to take the chains off and give yourself choice to take up more space. Um, I just like ask people to hang out in that for a little bit before I ask them the how, like what would you like to do with taking up more space? What choices do you have? But like we just hang there. If you had some more space for you to exist in your life and for you to matter, how would that feel?
Mm.
So that's where we start. Yeah. How about you?
I love that. If you had a little bit more space to exist,
Mm.
that just feels so powerful to me. And that aligns very closely with what I do. And I link everything back to your personal values. And I try to get people closer to their truest self and living according to their truest values, which unfortunately, we mostly feel like we need to push them aside in order to please everybody and make everybody else happy and be a useful member of our family and our society, right? So we forget that we have needs too.
Mhm.
And I love to use resentment as a tool to help us figure out what actually matters the most to us, because it's such a cool clue. So if you're finding yourself there going, oh, must be nice to sit on the couch all day and not even worry about all these things that I'm worrying about. Because, if I sit on the couch, my to-do list chops up, right?
Mhm.
And so you can use that must be nice feeling to figure out what is most important to you. And it's actually part of the envy family. It's an
Mhm.
envy. I wish I could do that too. I wish I could have that vacation too, or that lifestyle, or that ability to shut everything else out and just be.
Mhm.
And so by uncovering those hidden things underneath, like, man, I wish I could rest, and asking almost that same question that you asked, well, what would it look like in your life if you had that little extra space? And so you're realizing that, oh, it actually matters to me that I do have the space to rest. And that empowers people to say, oh, maybe I can take the space to rest. Maybe I can do those things that other people are doing. And we work on ways in a completely separate module to take actions that align with those things that matter most. So it's a really cool indicator to show you what you actually want in your life.
Absolutely. I love really you reframed the I can't do that. I can't do that too. I wish I could. And
Mm,
then how can I? It's like this
yes.
little step, right? And so we often say, the very thing that you're resenting somebody else for is the thing that you want for yourself. And we're not allowing ourselves to do it. And so um really looking at sometimes it's our judgment that gets in the way. So somebody else, you might be framing it as, oh my gosh, they're so selfish. All they ever do is like take care of themselves. And so just coming back and go, well, I wish I could be a little selfish. Like, how could I be selfish in a way that makes me feel good so that I can still overflow and give to others? I have this question that I always ask people to say is like, how can I do something in a way that blesses everyone involved, including me? Right? Because I think so often where we get to is it's either us versus them. So either I get taken care of or they get taken care of. It can't be both. But when we backtrack it and we actually look at if I take care of myself in this way, that is going to make me happier. It's going to make me more productive when I do things. It's
Mm,
going to make me actually want to interact with my spouse or my kids, who right now I want to throttle, like whatever it is,
yeah.
And so it's like, wait a minute, if I actually take that time, it'll bless me and them. So we move into the we world instead of the us versus them world.
Oh my goodness. I love that question. That is so powerful. And I encounter that a lot with people who are trying to set boundaries. It's very much me or them, right? And
Mhm.
they're almost like putting up a wall. A lot of people talk about boundaries as a bubble. And so I don't love that imagery personally, because I feel like you're either in the bubble or you're out of the bubble. And, people are forced to make this tough choice. And that's not healthy. And that's not what we're hoping for to get out of the situation, right? So I love that idea of we, absolutely. And we forget to include ourselves in the we. We forget to include ourselves in our family,
Mhm.
right? When we think of ourselves serving our family,
Mhm.
we very rarely do I encounter someone who has the idea that, yes, filling my own cup serves my family.
Mhm.
Right? It's more often a martyrdom situation. And that comes from our old programming that says it is selfish to rest. It is selfish to take care of ourselves. And it's going to make us more loved and more worthy if we are constantly taking care of everybody around us. But then we get into that place of resentment. And what did you say? You're like, I want to throttle you, right?
Yeah. Well, there's
And that's
moments, right?
exactly right. That's the emotion. It's a very, toxic place to be. You're in this stuck place. You're in the stuck place where part of you is saying, I want this, and another part of you is saying, you can't have this. And it
Mhm.
just collides inside of you, and is a very tough place to live in.
It is. And that whole voice that you were just mentioning, that voice inside us that says, that thing that you want, you can't have. We essentially are being our worst enemies. And not only that, but like we're separating ourselves generally from the people that we really love the most. And so we're getting in the way of the life that we're going after. And so really going back to that overall vision, like what do you really want out of this? And what are the steps in order to take it, I think are so huge. You mentioned earlier, and I would like to go into this a little bit more. You bring people back to their values.
Mm.
So how do you do that?
Oh, yeah. We spend 5 weeks in my course actually doing that because it's not a simple thing. It's something that we have buried for most of our lives. And so we do it through multiple steps. One of the steps is the legacy that you want to leave behind. Like, how do I want people to remember me? Because there's like an aha when that happens. It's like, oh, maybe, having the cleanest kitchen doesn't matter so much at the end of my life. Or, oh, maybe getting that promotion is not as important at the end of my life. You know what I mean? Like, so trying to create that legacy of how you want your relationships to be, how you want your life to be now and going forward into the future. And then I use a technique that is wishing, because our wishes are kind of like resentment. Gosh, I wish I could do that. I wish that I didn't have to work so much. I wish. And then once we start digging into those wishes, why do you wish that? It starts uncovering the things that actually matter the most. I talked on this weekend about, I wish I had more money. That's a wish that often we have. And it's like, well, why? Why do you wish that you could have more money? And you start going through it. Well, what makes that important? And what would you be able to do? Very similar to the questions you ask your clients, right? And then you start getting down to the baser layer. And so our program self says more money, but our true self says more money means more time with my loved ones. But the way that we go about the more money, say through a promotion, is not going to lead to more time with our loved ones. So we need to sort of rethink that. But yeah, it's definitely a process getting in touch with our values. And then, like you said, being able to start taking very conscious action towards living in a way that is going to get us closer and closer to those values.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that we're talking about emotions, the fact that they have a program, that you have community. There's a few things that are coming up with me about this is, we're in a society at the moment that is all about programming. Like this is the right way to do it and this is the wrong way, which often leads people to divorcing themselves, right?
Ooh, that's a powerful term. Yes, keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it's also a society that says like, let's do things like really fast. So just give me the 5 steps and like, let's be done. Whereas if you're really taking away the programming, if you're really getting to know yourself, I think it's a building process. And it's really essential to have community around you so that you can have beautiful yet difficult conversations and feel safe. And sometimes I think that those difficult conversations are, this is where I won, or this is what I did this weekend. Like I sat on the couch and it was really delicious. And like I had moments of judgment. But then like, I connected with my sons or, my partner, like so much more. And really having them affirm that that was a powerful choice. Because I think we have a lot of people around who are willing to validate us in our pain, but aren't willing to listen to the messages of the pain that can free us. And so the fact that we both have those communities and that we're willing to help people to nurture a lifelong change, I feel is vital these days. It's really vital.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting how many people are uncomfortable with change, uncomfortable with emotion, uncomfortable with success. And having people on a similar journey does allow that reprogramming, because your mind is going to take in all of the information, and having somebody say, yeah, that was an empowered choice, is going to reaffirm those new programs. And it's so interesting what happens when we start getting people into these communities, because I feel like there's a lot of shame. We carry a lot of shame around with us. And even shame in moving forward, even shame in positive change, right? Because in making these changes, we're actually going against the programming that told us we cannot be these things. We cannot show anybody in the world that we are weird, different, vulnerable, list of all these things that are part of our core selves. And having a group of people that are working on shedding that shame all together
Mhm.
is such a powerful experience. And it's the reason that I actually don't do one-on-one coaching,
Mhm.
because I find that the group offers so much greater transformation than any one-on-one that I could possibly facilitate. I'm sure there are brilliant one-on-one facilitators, but for me, it's the power of the community. It's the power of the group that really gets the transformation.
Yeah, no, there is. I think that so many of us are alone these days in a
Mm.
lot of ways, right? I mean, we're not alone, we're on here together, but we're really alone in our houses and facilitating this at the moment, the more that we can help other people interact and create community is massive. And people move across and have so much power. Like it's not one times one and one times, three. Like
Yes.
you absolutely amplify. So I'm with you. I do both. I do
Oh,
private and one-on-one. Everybody's different in how, for me, for my clients, like how they feel safe in sharing their story. But I love the fact that each one of us gets to choose what's most powerful for us as facilitators, and then also what's most powerful for our clients in order to really create the change. And the creating longevity with people being able to hang out with each other, and create friendships and bonds beyond what you and I do is really huge. So I appreciate all that you're doing.
I
And
love that you brought up the power to choose.
mhm,
I feel like that's something we've forgotten as
mhm,
humans, is that we have the power to choose. Like, we're given a framework for life, you go and you go to school and then you get a job and then you have family, but we have the power to choose. And you and I have the power to choose how we want to show up for our people. Every individual has the power to choose how they want to show up for themselves, how they want to get help, how they want to move forward or not.
mhm.
Which I just want to scream that from the mountain. You have the power to choose. You could choose how you show up in this minute and choose something completely different in the next minute. And that's
Yeah,
all great. I love that. And the same thing with resentment, right? You have the power to choose to sit here in this place of, oh, I hate this. I hate that they're doing that. I hate that I'm doing this. Or you can choose to say, oh, they're doing something that's making me feel a certain way. I'm doing something that's making me feel a certain way. Maybe I could choose something different and start looking at different options.
yeah. It's those expansive questions. I can tell you, all the work that I've done, there are still moments where I need to lean into somebody else to bring me
Mm,
questions because I can sit there and I can go, I could choose something different. And I'm just like a deer in headlights, like, I don't know what the difference is. I can't even see it because there's fog all around me.
mm,
And so I think that's the piece where it's really okay to say, like, I need a partner in this, I need a mentor, a coach, whatever it is, in order to help me to know what the questions are, or even to ask me them in a way that I can observe myself or to be observed, because I can say for myself, for my clients, a lot of times what comes up first is like the should energy. Well,
yeah.
they may not say it that way, but there's an energy of like, well, this is what I should love. And so I'm going to say it in a way that I would love this and I won't get to the clarity. So, I guess I say that because people can get a lot from listening to us today and they can go and play with this. But if they ever feel like they're just not getting anywhere, I would really invite them to try, your program, my programs, somebody else's programs, and pull a partner in, because when you're able to do it together, you do amplify, but also it's just beautiful to be seen by somebody else and to have somebody else create a safe space for you to exist in a more expansive way. And to me, that's what resentment always comes back to, is like, how can I expand in this world, and feel safe in doing it? Like, how can my choices expand and not feel so wrong, or that I'm pushing somebody else out, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's the power of the outside perspective that you were mentioning at the beginning. And it's so interesting because even therapists need therapists. And
Absolutely.
coaches need coaches, right? And absolutely, I benefit from coaching all of the time. I have multiple coaches in my life right now, moving me forward in different areas of my life because they can see things that I just can't. Like you said, there's a fog around it, right? It's like, I want to be able to do this thing. I know that I want to take this path, but I'm just not really sure what steps to take, what actual action steps to take, and how to move this forward. And so, an easy action step would be to find somebody who jives with you, who can hold space for you and give you that outside perspective and ask the right questions so that you can kind of pull it out of yourself and figure out your right direction and next steps. That is so critical. You're absolutely right on that, Tara, for sure. So, any last thoughts on resentment before we sign off for the day?
Just every emotion can be fun if you pull somebody in who helps you with it. But every single emotion has that message that can really up level your life. So don't shy away from it.
I love that perspective. That's a huge shift. Every emotion can be fun. Yes, every emotion can be a cool thing to untangle that gets you closer and closer to your true self. And the closer you get to your true self, the better you feel, the less you have anxiety, the less stress you have, and the more happiness you invite into your life. So 100% love that shift. I love, and like my last thing will just be that resentment shows you what you want. So don't be afraid to dig into it. Don't be afraid to feel it and explore it. It's not something that needs to be shoved away. It's something that's a beautiful message. Join me in my Blissfully Busy Facebook group to see if we can figure out how to dodge burnout together.